So in order to heal IBD, any form of it, IBS even, in order to experience full recovery to the point of complete and total remission, there's a few things that have to be corrected in our body in order to achieve this type of success. There is a checklist. Basically, we have to restore something called the mucosa. We'll talk about it. We have to correct any dysbiosis going on inside of our body and outside of our body. We also have to restore or correct any negative attitudinal dispositions of our immune system. Basically, what that means is we have to correct the proclivity of our immune system to overreact when activated. That's not good. We got to correct that. If you have IBD, IBS, any form of it, colitis, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, etc., there is this trifecta of destruction in the relationship of your gut wall to your mucosa and your immune system. Let's break it down really quick. Your gut wall is made up of these cells. They're called epithelial cells. They do many things that are important. They create this stuff called the mucosa. If that word sounds like mucus to you, then you're correct. Basically, the mucosa is this stratification, this layering of different thicknesses of mucus, this innate substance that's just rocks, okay? Some of the things that it does that we're just going to focus on. One, it creates this absorption gradient, this absorption buffer, which is highly important. And we'll kind of allude to it, talk about it a little bit more. But one of the things that it does, this absorption gradient, this absorption buffer, it helps keep our immune system calm. It prevents a shock to our immune system. And we'll break it down a little bit more in a second. And one other thing that the mucosa does is it provides a home for healthy probiotics to live in, which again, these healthy probiotics are going to have a very important role in determining the disposition of our immune system. Now, these three things, the gut wall, the epithelial cells, the mucosa, and the immune system, have to be in balance with one another. If not, they turn into this self-sustaining storm, this trifecta of destruction that I call it, that ultimately leads to the diagnosis of some form of IBD or possibly IBS, whatever. Anyway, we feel like crap. So we have to throw a huge monkey wrench into this storm, this turbulent storm going on in our intestine in order to achieve complete and total recovery. It is totally possible. So, as is often the case, we just got to pick some place and begin there. Okay, so we're just going to start with our epithelial cells. So, as I already mentioned, they create this mucus, this mucosa is what it's called. It plays a fundamental role in determining the disposition of our immune system. As I already said, it creates this absorption buffer, this absorption gradient. So you have to realize everything out there in the world that you eat, any food category, has a unique physical energetic signature to itself. Essentially, my body has a unique signature, and that fruit, let's say apple or a grape, has a unique individual signature to itself. It's a signature that makes an apple, and me. So when I eat that apple, for example, my body understands that I just ate this pretty significant mass, which is not me. Right away, my immune system is activated and alerted. Now, what should happen is my mucosa is there, it's healthy, it's active, and it is providing this trickle effect, this absorption buffer, giving my immune system time to see it as friend or foe. And ideally, it's an apple, so my body is going to say, you know what, this is food, it tastes pretty good, it's a little bit sweet, the tartness is balanced just fine, so let's absorb it and enjoy it. Hopefully that goes on, but with a damaged mucosa, that does not go on. Basically, you eat the apple, and then the 100% of the foreign energetic signatures are exposed to your immune system, and it shocks your immune system. And your immune system just reacts, say, well, we are being inundated with, we don't even know what right now. We're not going to ask that question. Just send in the cavalry. And the cavalry in our immune system is actually pretty cool. Our immune system, I don't know if you knew this or not, but our immune system can explode. So essentially, okay, so there's this immune cell. It's called a neutrophil. And it shows up on the scene. It says, whoa, there's something there. It's probably an apple. This guy doesn't really seem to care about it, so I'm just going to explode. And that's what happens. He shows up. He's like, whoa, there's no mucus layer here. Let me explode. He explodes. And it does a few things. One, it definitely sequesters the apple, seals off any hole there. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. Seals off the hole, sequesters the apple, but it does some collateral damage. Basically, it irritates and possibly destroys the epithelial cells in that vicinity of the explosion. Now remember, the epithelial cells secrete mucus. They create that mucosa. And if you remember a second ago, the mucosa is supposed to create like this absorption gradient, giving our immune system time. Now, the whole reason why our immune system is just overreacting like that to begin with, there was something wrong with our mucosa in one particular spot. It wasn't quite thick enough. It was thin, or it wasn't even there at all. Something happened. So then our immune system shows up and explodes, and it destroys the cells whose job it is to create that mucus coating. So now this is bad. So you don't really feel this. I mean, this is kind of small. You're not going to be aware of this, and you're just going to keep eating stuff. Meanwhile, you have a damaged mucosa and a damaged epithelium. You could be eating things that you are kind of sensitive to anyway. We'll talk about that later. You could be eating things that you're kind of sensitive to. Common ones, dairy, gluten, maybe some tree nut or something like that. You don't really know that you're sensitive to it, but with a damaged mucosa, then your body really, really reacts to it. So what happens is you have this damaged epithelial cells because of disturbance in your mucosa. Your immune system is overreacting here, and you keep eating something that you're slightly sensitive to. So what's going to happen is that damaged spot is going to grow and grow and grow. And as it grows, your immune cells are becoming more and more reactive, more and more reactive. And this is actually body-wide. So you're going to start sneezing more. You might develop some food intolerance, some food allergy. You might be going to the bathroom more. And you're going to start waking up, but you don't really know what's going on now. You just feel under the weather. Now, this is actually the trifecta of destruction. So you're continuing to eat stuff. You have a damaged mucosa. Your immune system shows up, explodes, which we got to pay homage. That's pretty cool that they can even do that. But at the end of the day, it creates damage with our epithelial cells. So we get no more mucus production. No more mucus production. No more trickling of our food. More immune system activation, more explosions, which destroy our gut wall, eventually leads to ulcers, less mucus, more immune system activation. You just see it's just this self-sustaining trifecta of destruction, this vortex going on inside of our stomach that we got to throw a monkey wrench in. So now you know this is the picture of what's going on inside of our gut of anybody who has any form of IBD. So we got to stop it. And we stop it by that checklist that I said at the beginning of this video. Okay, so real quick, one of the first things that we have to do is we have to correct the dysbiosis going on inside of our body. And we can do it. Dysbiosis just kind of means that we have an imbalance in the gut microbes. We could have a C. diff overgrowth, hopefully not. Could have Candida overgrowth. There could be some other type of unbalanced microorganism living in us that is causing a destructive pattern to happen with our mucosa. We have to correct that. And it just so happens that probiotics can do something really, really, really cool. Specific ones, not all of them, but specific ones. We're going to focus on 3 here. One of the first probiotics that we're going to take, and this is even if we can't tolerate food whatsoever, we can typically tolerate this probiotic. It's called Bifidobacterium infantis. It's awesome. Basically, it's one of the first probiotics we're exposed to when we're born. And it can do some cool things. One of the things that it does, it automatically starts reestablishing oral tolerance to a multitude of food categories. That means that your body can tolerate, it doesn't react to food, number one. And it does this by calming down our immune system. Now, essentially, just in case you don't know, there's some parts of our immune system that are the the Marines, the ground troops, and then we have generals, that tell other immune cells, like, this is what's going on, you need to act, you don't need to act, you need to take a chill pill, whatever. These are called regulatory cells. Basically, the ones we're going to focus on are regulatory dendritic cells, if you live in our gut, and regulatory T cells. We want a lot of these guys when we are recovering from any type of IBS, IBD. And in order to get a lot of these guys, we have to have a good source, a good amount of healthy probiotics, specific ones. And one of the ones that I just mentioned, for example, are Bifidobacterium infantis. It activates this FOXP3 transcription factor. Now, that probably doesn't mean anything to you, so let's break it down. A transcription factor is a compound, when I take it, it elicits a particular effect in my genes. It tells my body to express one of the genes that I have. And in this case, it's the FOXP3 transcription factor. And it increases the robustness of my regulatory T cells and my regulatory dendritic cells. Now remember, these are the cells that are going to calm down your immune system body-wide, and that is so awesome. Bifidobacterium infantis is one that does that. There's another one that does that we really want to focus on. It's called Lactobacillus acidophilus. You've probably maybe have heard of both of these strains before, but maybe you didn't know, like, whoa, they actually do really, really important things. They essentially calm down our immune system. So when you're sick and you go to the doctor and you're diagnosed with IBD, whatever, he's going to give you an antibiotic. He or she will give you an antibiotic, probably. And then they're also probably, most likely, 100% going to put you on an immunosuppressant. Well, the difference between a probiotic and immunosuppressant is that the immunosuppressant shuts off your immune system body-wide. It just stops acting. The probiotics in juxtaposition, they don't turn your immune system off. They just educate it. They cause our body to form new regulatory immune cells, which are awesome. So when we are really, really far along in the progression of IBD, IBS, whatever, we may not be able to tolerate a lot of stuff. You almost can't eat anything. But the Bifidobacterium infantis, which is the first one we're going to start with, odds are we can tolerate that. Even if it's just a pinch, literally a pinch, it will start helping our body to not be so overreactive with food. It's immediately going to start calming down our gut. And I'm just saying, like, depending on how long this process has been going on with you, your recovery could be like a year long, okay? This isn't something that happens overnight. But anyway, we want to start with this Bifidobacterium infantis. It's going to start increasing these regulatory immune cells. Then we're going to move on to Lactobacillus acidophilus individually, infantis individually, acidophilus individually. We're going to take these until we literally feel better. And then there's a third strain that we're going to focus on is Bacillus subtilis. Again, it does a really, really good job at helping to seal up our gut and reduce some of those caustic substances that are going to be melting our way at our mucosa. Now, kind of at the same time, if you kind of remember like 2-3 minutes ago, how I was talking about this trifecta, burns holes in our physical gut wall. And we'll bleed, we'll develop ulcers, etc. It's important for our epithelial cells to heal, to fill in those holes, to fill in those ulcers, to get strong again, because we need them to produce mucus. This mucus is what these healthy probiotics live in, which is awesome. And remember, the mucus is also going to help keep our immune system from being shocked by the food stuff that we eat. Now, there's 7 amino acids. Now, amino acid is a protein. There's 7 of them that we really, really need to focus on. 3 of them are going to help physically with the expedition, the healing process itself. It's going to speed that up. What are these 3 amino acids that most of us can tolerate also? One is called arginine, the other one is tryptophan, and the third one is glutamine. These 3 amino acids are going to start helping to seal up and heal up your gut. That's awesome. Now, as your epithelial cells are starting to heal and mend themselves together, creating these tight junctions, they're automatically going to want to start creating mucus. Now, depending on how long the process has been going on in your body, you might be pretty thin and you might be pretty anemic. We have to give your body 4 other amino acids, which are the building blocks of your mucosa. We need to focus on threonine, serine, cysteine, and methionine. These 4 amino acids, which are proteins, are the building blocks of your mucosa. So just again, remember, the healthier your mucosa is, the more probiotics can live in there. And the more the probiotics live in there, the more that they're going to regulate the hyperactivity of your immune system. So far we've got Bifidobacterium infidus, we've got Lactobacillus acidophilus, we have Bacillus subtilis. We have those 7 amino acids to help heal the gut, to help increase the mucus production. Now, some of us can have a heightened disposition of just an overreactive epithelial cell wall. I'm just more sensitive. They're a little bit more finicky. We need to calm those guys down too. And there's 4 other supplements that are really awesome at doing this. Okay, so basically our epithelial cells, the actual walls of your large and small intestine, for example, they can create immune magnets themselves. Words like maybe tumor necrosis factor alpha, nuclear factor kappa B, interferon gamma. Maybe you've heard of those words, maybe you haven't. Doesn't matter. You just need to know that your epithelial cells can create these, and these are immune messengers that say, hey, you know what? I'm not in a good mood. You need to add some inflammation in my vicinity. I don't really know what's going on. You got that grenade dude with you? Bring him too. So that's what these things do, and they will cause turmoil inside of your gut. Well, fortunately, there's actually 2 powerful medicinal mushrooms that do a fantastic job in working with your gut wall and telling your cells to be like, look, this apple is actually pretty tasty. If you just taste a little bit of it, you're going to like it, I promise. Anyway, these healthy medicinal mushrooms are called cordyceps and chaga. Basically, when we take them, they will lower our tumor necrosis factor alpha in our gut, our interferon gamma. They'll lower IgE, which again is like a immune modulator that will cause us to have an allergic reaction to our food. They lower down these pro-inflammatory molecules, and they work with our gut. They don't destroy the probiotics living in our gut. They work with them. They are good, and they have a long history of use for anybody with any type of inflammatory bowel condition. Now, there's 2 other supplements I do want to mention. One is called black cumin seed oil, and the other one is called Shilajit resin. They actually do 2 things really, really important. Well, they're both panaceas of health-promoting effects, but they do 2 things that's really, really important for anybody suffering with IBD, IBS, etc. One, they help instigate our epithelial cells to create mucus, to build that mucosa. So the black cumin seed oil and the Shilajit resin, we're just going to help our cells to create those mucus layers. That's number 1. And number 2, both of them are going to help in the regulatory process of our immune system. Basically, they're called immune system adaptogens, and they just help regulate the heightened activity or the underactivity of our immune system in any given area. They tend to calm things down and just have an overall balancing effect. So with this unique, simple protocol, we're getting a new inoculation of healthy probiotics that are going to start calming down our immune system. They're going to start helping us to build and mend our gut wall. They're going to start stimulating and beckoning forth our epithelial cells to start secreting mucus because they want a home to live in. We're getting those 7 amino acids, 7 amino acids that are going to help mend the wall, strengthen those tight junctions, or what should be tight junctions between our epithelial cells. And we're getting those 4 other amino acids to basically feed our epithelial cells so they can secrete the mucosa, the home for those probiotics. And then those 4 healthy supplements to help stimulate mucus production, to calm down inflammation on the gut wall itself, and to help modulate the overall heightened activity, reactivity, or underactivity of our immune system. It is pretty cool. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video and I hope you found it very, very informative.